Welcome back to Nostalgia on the Mic, the home of classic hip-hop and soulful R&B vibes. I'm your host, T, and this is episode 3, part 2 of our series, Cinematic Cuts. And here we honor the legends, celebrate the culture, and keep the sound alive for the next generation. Listen, we have a great show planned for you today, but like always, make sure you like, comment, share, follow us on all platforms, hit that subscribe button, and turn on all notifications so you can be the first to catch the latest drops and exclusive content. Coming up later, I'll be chopping it up with Terrance McLeod as we explore the impact of classic film soundtracks, how those legendary tracks didn't just complement the movies, but help shape the culture around them. Stay tuned.
Hi there.
Hi.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a filmmaker. What do you do?
I'm a doctor.
Thinking about opening up a practice here and serving the community.
Oh, that's dope.
You've been spending a lot of time with Malik lately?
Yes. I think it could be something.
You want to be my muse?
Why stay here? Maybe you could make a bigger name for yourself in a bigger city.
There's a black art scene that's thriving here.
This kind of stuff is just not hot on the market right now.
If you're not playing some type of thug, it's like they don't want to see layered African Americans on screen.
God, it's my dad. He wants me to come to DC and work at his practice. But it's not what I want to do, though.
How do you feel about it?
You gotta do what you gotta do. Man, we're just chilling, right?
Just chilling.
I want us to be in this together. Because right now, it just feels like it's me. And you have to promise that you won't say anything to him either.
The dumbest in the world is the one who knows he's in love and tries to convince himself he's not. You only get one soulmate in life.
In the gallery of life, our love is a masterpiece. With every heartbeat, our colors blend and blossom, creating a masterpiece where black love is our muse.
Do you think it's true? Some people only being in your life for a season? I think our season is up.
But I don't want a season. Sam, I want forever.
Terrance McLeod is a filmmaker and Air Force veteran from Albany, New York, now based in Charlotte, North Carolina. Terrance brings a unique perspective to his craft, blending discipline with creativity. Having been drawn to film, from a young age, he served as director of photography on 3 feature films, A Reflection of Evil, The Jester, and Bloodline, before directing his own debut feature, A Season for Love. Terrance's work is dedicated to presenting authentic, uplifting narratives focused on Black experiences, embodying his commitment to positive representation in cinema. All right, Terrance, we on. What's going on, bro?
What's up, sis?
What's up? How you doing?
I'm feeling pretty good. Getting this movie out the door so everybody can see it. Really excited.
Good. Thank you for joining me this evening.
Yeah, for sure.
So like I tell my guests, I'm not going to hold you long. We're going to get right into it.
Okay.
So let's see. When we think about 90s and 2000s R&B and just R&B and hip hop, how did it play a role in your creativity?
For me, that's all I listened to growing up. That was in my house. So it's been ingrained in me since birth. I'm a 90s baby. So I grew up on Mary J. If you're talking R&B, from Brandy, Nas, just not Nas, but Brandy, Monica, Music Soul Child, just classic R&B, classic love music I grew up on. So it was ingrained in me, since birth, really.
So with music, especially hip hop and R&B, how did it shape the way coming up? Did you have any specific artists that you listen to?
Yeah, so R&B side, my mother is a big Mary fan, so of course, and her that was all that was playing. Like, what's the 411 is still my jam today, right?
I like that.
So, yeah, for sure. That's all I listen to. So it was always ingrained in me. On top of that, my favorite artist when it comes to hip hop is Hove. So he definitely had a big, especially with my teenage years. I'm talking from Reasonable Doubt through, Dynasty, really, just all of it. So he definitely had a big impact on my life. But on the R&B side, it was multiple artists, man. It's just like Jagged Edge is another group that really influenced me. So, yeah.
Let's talk about your film, A Season of Love.
Yeah.
It captures the kind of love, tension, and emotional truth that kind of feels lived in. So what inspired you to put this story, and how did you come up with the concept?
So, I'm a filmmaker, and I worked on a lot of films, and most of the love films, films I worked on there's been a lot of trauma in them, you know what I mean? A lot of kind of street thug love. And I really wanted to tell something different, something that, showed us in a more positive light, right? So, in the Season for Love, the leads, Malik, played by Tori Tillman, he plays a filmmaker, right? And our lead, Sam, played by Danielle Houston, she plays a doctor, really. So we're at the peak of they're at the peak, or not the peak of their profession, but they're professionals, right? And they're striving to be at the peak of their profession without the trauma, without the loss, without the crime. I really wanted to show that Black people can be excellent. Black people can be in love without all the messiness. Not to say there's no drama there, because there's definitely drama in the film, right? But it's relatable. It's relatable to a lot of people. That I think, that'll show us in a good light. And I wanted something different. I wanted to bring back that 90s love feeling, like Love Jones, like Poetic Justice, Jason's Lyric, things like that, things I grew up on. I wanted to tell those stories in a more modern version of them, while staying true to those through lines and how those movies were told and how they made me feel.
If you can choose a 90s or 2000s track to kind of bring it to heart, what song comes to mind? It's a song track. What comes to mind?
Ooh, I got two that come to mind. Brandy, Have You Ever? Because if you listen to that,
yes.
if you listen to that song and then you watch the movie, you'll go, oh, okay. And listen, if I had the money to license that track, it'll be in there for sure. And then another one, more 2000s, Music Soul Child Love. So many people use that name in vain, and when you think about truly what love is, I think he captured that in that song, and I think we kind of captured that same theme, that thematic theme of that song in our film as well.
I'm still thinking about, I'm not going to give it away, but playing the film back in my head, that Have You Ever would have set it off.
Yeah.
Have You Ever track.
For sure.
Imagine this series if it was creating its own soundtrack. Who are your three artists, past or present, or it could be more than three?
Okay. Past or present. So on a soundtrack, I think, God rest her soul, if Whitney was still around, I would definitely reach out to Whitney. I mean, I think of that Bodyguard soundtrack is like, not saying that Whitney wouldn't have been huge regardless, but I think what Bodyguard did for her career and just what Bodyguard did for soundtracks in general, I think I would definitely want Whitney. Brandy's just one of my favorite female R&B artists of all time. So I definitely want her. It's interesting because more recently, it's so hard, man, because R&B has changed so much. Mm-hmm. But I think who I've really been listening to lately on the R&B side today would be Giveon and Leon Thomas. I think Giveon, he his music's interesting, but he's definitely a storyteller, right? And I think that will play well in this movie. And Leon, I just love Leon's sound, man. I love how musically inclined he is. Does
the tone of the film feel like a 90s, 2000s jam to you? And if so, what kind of emotional energy does it channel? Yeah, I mean, I hope so, right? I mean, that was the goal, to write something that really paid homage to that time period. Not that it's a period piece, because it's definitely a modern film, but I think those classic romantic drama films that I grew up on, it definitely have gone away lately. So I definitely wanted to pay homage to that, and I think so. So the emotional energy is really just that love is a complicated thing, right? And that I really wanted to give us that feeling of 90s love. Those not from the music to just the drama to how they interacted, how they communicated with each other. I really wanted to restore that feeling. When you think of a movie scene, really, I don't want to say good movie, but we normally be able to tell right off the back of our hand like a good movie scene. So to you, was there ever a movie scene where the music didn't support the moment? It became the moment? Where the music became the moment? Mm-hmm. What comes to mind is Fast and the Furious. Toward the end, the Wiz Khalifa song. Okay. I think "See You Again," right? I think that's what it's called. I might be wrong on the title, but I think that song became. Of course, we lost. Was it Paul Walker? We lost him right before that film came out. So it was definitely to pay homage and celebrate him. And I think
that music played so well, and how they did the scene toward the end, like having him drive off and then that song played. That song I want to say was #1 on the chart for probably like a few months after that. So that definitely was I think that song became the moment more than the movie did, for sure. I think that song helped sell the movie personally.
I know we were talking about specific tracks. Let's say your film came out in '98. You still going with Brandy as the artist for your scene?
Dang, what songs came 98 specifically?
I can't even. Well, I'm sitting here. I was
came out in
what,
98?
one. I was one. So
Dang, you got me. I gotta see what came. I'm probably still going with "Have You Ever," just because, like you said, that song is perfect. But what else came out in '98 though? I gotta think.
Real quick, give me a second, you guys. Give me a second.
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me see.
98 albums. Okay, so we have Whitney Houston, "My Love Is Your Love." We have Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. We have Into the Drew Hill. We have Let's Ride, Montel Jordan. The Boy Is Mine, Monica. We have One Wish, Deborah Cox. That was actually a good year for R&B. We have 112 from 112. Faith Evans, "Keep the Faith."
Man,
some good ones. I don't know if are you familiar with Escape soundtrack?
Yeah,
Escape album.
Yeah,
The album, because this one actually came out in '98. Traces of My Lipstick.
that's a good one too. How Deep Is Your Love by Drew Hill is crazy.
Yeah.
Nice and Slow. '98 was a good year.
That was a good year. I'm looking at the list.
Faded
So it's a
Pictures.
couple.
You know what's crazy? Case and Joe, Faded Pictures. Because there's a specific scene in the movie where that would be perfect. That could play. It's a lot. '98 was a good year. '98 was a good year. I'm probably still going with "Have You Ever" though, just because.
Okay.
It fits so perfect. But yeah, man, Faded Pictures by Case and Joe. That's a good one too.
Was there ever a movie scene that kind of like ripped straight out like a Mary J. Blige, Usher, Maxwell song?
Waiting to Exhale, to me.
Okay.
So I grew up on Mary. So when Bernadine threw those clothes in the car and lit it on fire, like, Mary J. had Not Gonna Cry. I feel like that was every woman who's been scorned or hurt. That was their jam, and I feel like she captured like that scene. She captured what all of them were thinking at that moment. Like, we ain't gonna cry, we gonna move on, but I'm gonna let you know what you deserve. Like, I feel like that would be. I feel like that was definitely a Mary J. vibe for sure.
This one, it didn't come out I think it came out in like 2002. Mary had some hits, but I would say No More Drama. When I tell you No More Drama,
that
no,
one
we're not doing it no more.
That one
too. Like, she's not doing it no more. You're not putting her through that no more.
That was big Mary vibes on that scene for sure. For sure.
What are your favorite collaborations that came out of soundtracks?
I think, given what Black Panther did culturally, especially for the culture and just Black people in general, I think Kendrick and TDE being able to produce that soundtrack, I think that leveled all of them up, especially Kendrick. To have that, to be able to do that soundtrack, specifically that soundtrack because of what that movie did, and then just to have the music behind it, I think that was a big collaboration for sure.
So do you feel that there's a soundtrack that really didn't get its recognition as it deserved, as it should? Maybe
Love Jones.
Okay.
I think Love Jones is a solid. I mean, because from Maxwell to Lauryn Hill to even the jazz notes that's in there, that's a solid soundtrack. I think we appreciate the movie for what it was, but I don't think the soundtrack. I don't think people really understand how really dope that soundtrack was.
I feel like Maxwell, they kind of played that was, I mean, I guess like that's like the first song that come to mind, even though there's probably some more dope tracks on the soundtrack, but Maxwell, like, something is the first track that came to mind when you think of Love Jones.
Yeah, I think they either opened the movie to that or Lauryn Hill. I'm pretty sure. Damn, I should know. I should really know, but now I'm looking. Like, yeah, I mean that song, but I'm talking about the entire soundtrack is fire.
Gotcha.
You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like when I consider the entire, Trina Broussard, Sandra Wilson, like it's so many dope, and I'm not even just talking about like R&B. There's jazz and blues in that soundtrack, and how they intertwine it all, and even hip hop when you think about the Fugees, right? Like how they intertwine it all, it just works so well.
I gotta go back and look at that because I really, like you said, I'm really not too good with soundtracks. I have a couple. Like I have Nutty Professor
That's a
soundtrack.
good
I
one.
have Waiting to Exhale.
Waiting to Exhale is another good one.
Uh,
That's a great soundtrack, by the way.
I have
Like,
that one.
I mean, again, when you got Brandy and Whitney, it's just you're not gonna. That's a recipe
That was a
for
good one.
that you're not gonna miss on that. You know what I mean? So that's a solid. I think what soundtracks have done for movies in general are great though. You look at one of my all time favorite movies is Shaft. I want to say Shaft might have been the first movie that had like a real soundtrack, like real artists performing over the movie. Like I think that's what spawned this whole thing. Soundtracks was Shaft. So I can't discount that at all.
So, is there a soundtrack to you that you remember more than the movie itself?
Did I remember more than the movie itself? Probably not more than the movie itself, but one that I can distinctly remember is Space Jam.
Okay.
Space Jam soundtrack was really good too, for sure. I haven't watched the movie in a long time, but I can still remember some of the songs on there. I think Monica, R. Kelly, I Believe I Can Fly. So many hits that's on there that you can just go back to for sure. Now I'm talking about the original Space Jam. I haven't seen.
No, I watched I seen the original Space Jam.
I couldn't bring myself to watch the new one. What's crazy that, and maybe a hot take, but the Lion King soundtrack as well.
That was a good one.
The Lion King soundtrack is really, really good. I think that's one that plays in every '90s kid's heart, for sure. Just because of where we were, little kids, and that's probably one of the first movies that we remember watching.
Mm-hmm. That's my favorite movie.
I got my daughter watching. We watched Mufasa recently, and she loves that movie. But I kind of refused to show her the redo of The Lion King, and I made her watch the original, like truly animated one. I'm like, 'cause I can't. That's the one that's near and dear to my heart. So that's the one she got to watch. So she can watch the other one when she get older, but right now she gonna watch the animated one for sure.
Yeah, even when it came out in the movies, the live version, I'm like, it's kind of, I don't know, it's just to see like Mufasa as like a actual lion. It kind of.
But that new soundtrack. So I didn't watch the movie, but I heard the new soundtrack, and the new soundtrack is really good too.
Lion King, which soundtrack?
The original remake of the Lion King they did like a couple years ago. The one that Beyonce and I think Beyonce and Jay produced.
Gotcha.
Right? That soundtrack is really good. That soundtrack is really, really good. It's different from the original for sure, but it's a solid soundtrack.
Yeah. So I think didn't Beyonce, wasn't she on the Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
Yes.
Okay, that's that one. Okay, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Let's get into your creative process with the film. Okay. So I know you said you wanted to give a message about how Black couples and we can promote positivity and love. So was there a specific personal story or relationship or even a song that was an initial spark?
I think the conversation for me was I was shooting a movie where it was a lot of trauma involved in the movie, right? And I remember being on set and I was like, I understand that this is someone's perspective, but it's not how I grew up. It's not how a lot of my friends grew up. And I felt like, for a period of time, those are all the movies I were being offered to shoot. Those are all the movies I was seeing. And I was like, there's got to be someone out here that, wants to tell a different version of this. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, let me just write. And a little bit comes from my life, right? You write what you know. I am a filmmaker. Some of the experiences that they have are taken and exacerbated in the film on some of the things I've experienced for sure. So it's personal that way. But I think it's a story that all artists, no matter what your medium is, whether it's music, painting, filmmaking, we all can understand, what Malik's character is going through. We all, in the film, there's a dynamic between Sam and her dad. And I think, anybody who's had, a parent in their life that wants them to do a certain thing and be a certain way can understand what that pressure looks like. So when you watch it, you can, you understand the reality in it for sure.
So that goes into my next question. So what's the message or emotional truth that you want the audience to walk away with?
Without giving it away, that love is rocky. Love is unpredictable. Love shows up when you're not expecting it. You know what I mean? And sometimes we are scared of what love is, right? Sometimes we don't know how to love. But I think this movie's throughput is that, it's hard to run away from, and sometimes those are where the hardest, love, it's hard, really. I think that's it. Love is hard. Love is not easy. It's not this thing you see in a Hallmark movie or, any of those other TV shows. So, this movie portrays it real, how it is, the ups and downs of it. They're not perfect. It's not perfect. And it takes you on a journey. Yeah.
So how does the story evolve when it comes to music, or once the music, the visuals, the characters all came into play?
Yeah. So for the music, we didn't really lean heavy into hip hop and R&B. Like, I think that was our distinction from most movies in the 90s. I think for us, I went with a jazz tone. One, I feel like jazz is sexy, right? And it's dramatic. And I felt like the jazz tones that we decided to go with really hit those dramatic beats well. So, and it was, financially, we looked at it and we look at, well, if we're going to license music, what that costs. So there certainly was some R&B song. Like I said, Have You Ever would have been in there, period, if I could have got it. But I think once the cut was done and we looked at it, I was like, you know what, this is really more jazz than it is R&B. Now I know that there's an infusion of jazz in R&B, especially today. But I think I wanted it really grounded in that jazz, those jazz tones for this one, for sure.
So still speaking of tones, was there ever a moment where the music shifted the tone of a scene, or where it just changed overall completely?
Like from what I perceived. Yeah. I think sometimes, my composer and music supervisor, his name's C, the architect out of Jersey. When I cut it to temp music, and actually there was some R&B in the temp music, and when I sent it to him, he called me. He was like, "Yo, I really think what you're going for here, it'll be more impactful if we went jazz with it." And I was like, okay. I wasn't really feeling it at first. I was like, I don't know, man. I feel like, it's really, I feel like what the artist is saying kind of goes along with what the tone of it. And he was like, let the words, let the dialogue speak for itself, and let's just put a jazz beat under there. It'll work. And I really think once I heard it, I think that's why it's really important that you work with a composer and someone who knows music really well, but way better than I do, which he does. He made that decision and he sent it back to me, and I was like, oh my God, like perfect. It made perfect sense. So that's why I went with it. For sure. He was absolutely right. Everyone who screened it, who's seen it, said that worked so well. So for sure.
While being on set, was there ever a time where you were just, standing there like when everything clicked, like this is it?
Yeah. So toward the end of the movie, there's a scene where our main character has decided what she's going to do next. And I knew that if we didn't get it, if it didn't feel right, the entire movie was going to be off. And I made the decision, there was a decision. So there's a scene, it's a long take, right? I want to say it lasts longer than a minute. And we were on set and it was like, do we cut out of it or do we just stay? And I was like, I made the decision to just stay in it for a long period of time. And I think it paid off. She delivered a very, very powerful scene that worked really, really well. The idea is to kind of get the audience uncomfortable a little bit. I think that decision, once we cut the camera and we seen it, we was like, oh, this is perfect. It's going to do what it needs to do. I think that scene sells the film, truthfully.
Speaking of cast, how did you go about casting? Was there, were you looking for specifically a cast or people who can bring emotional weight? Yeah,
so I cast off relationships. I don't normally do casting calls unless I just really can't find who I'm looking for or haven't worked with before, right? I think for me, like I look at how Spike found his Denzel, or Ryan found his Michael B. Jordan, right? They're people that they're going to go to. I'm kind of the exact same way. Me and John Caldwell, we worked on 3 films together. Me and Danny's Sam in the film. This is our first film, but we've been talking for, I want to say like 2 or 3 years about a project. We just didn't have the time. Tori was interesting. I came across a film that he did that he actually produced, and I loved his performance. And I was like, I just called him up. Like, no casting call. I was like, hey man, if you're available, I need you to come do this with me. and I sent him the script. He loved it. And then Aaliyah Davis, she plays Nikki, who is Sam's best friend in the film. I had worked with her on a series called Rough Seas. So for me, because I'm a working DP locally, and I'm on a lot of other people's projects, I get to experience actors and actresses in real time, not through an audition phase. I get to see what they can do. So it's easy to pick up the phone and call them when I have something.
What kind of feedback have you been receiving for those who've already seen the film, especially those who lived through the 90s and in the early 2000s when it comes to music and love?
Yeah, I mean, they tell me I hit it on the head. They tell me it restores that feeling, that they loved it, that it felt real, that it's refreshing. The big thing is it's refreshing, right? Because again, we don't normally see this anymore. And it's sad. I think we're starting to get back. I mean, I just seen Mara Brock's Forever on Netflix. Phenomenal work. So I think the industry is trending back that way. And I'm glad to see it because these stories do matter. You know what I mean? Like, nothing against Power, Snowfall, stories like that, right? Nothing against them. I understand that is a black reality for a lot of people. But again, not everyone. So, I think there's a whole nother side of the African American experience that deserves to be seen on screen as well, for sure. And I'm just happy to deliver that, for sure.
Nice. So with your work, has anyone seen something in your work that kind of surprised you or even changed their perspective and gave a new perspective on it?
On the work? I don't know. Not of yet. I think for me, this was my first time directing a feature. I've directed 2 shorts before, but again, like I said, I'm a working DP, which is a cameraman, right? I'm a cameraman by trade. So for me, I'll say, I guess I did it. This is something that was definitely outside of my comfort zone, directing actors, directing a crew. So what I found for myself is that I know I enjoyed it, so that I can do it for sure. And it's something I look forward to doing again. So I guess for me, I've made it as a calling card to show what I can do and to prove that to myself that I can do it, that I belong in that director's chair. So it was just, again, it's more motivation for me. No one has told me anything like that, but I satisfied it myself. I motivated myself to get it done. And, just seeing the outpouring of support, motivates me to do it again.
Okay. When we were talking earlier, you were telling me about the pre-orders. So how are you sharing the project? Streaming platforms, festivals, grassroots support?
Yeah, so right now, it's available for pre-order on Fandango at Home and Apple TV. It will be available on a lot of other platforms. So you're talking YouTube Movies, Google Play. I want to say there's some cable channels picking it up right now, and we're just we're going to see where it goes, and then I know in the fall we're looking at a different window possibly, but right now it's again, the biggest thing that helps us is those pre-orders, because a strong pre-order window will let other streamers know, like your Netflixes, your Hulus, know if they want to pick it up later. So let's definitely support. We put a lot of work into this, but that's where it's available. And we're sharing links. We had some budget ad spend for ads, so we're running ads on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, just to really get the word out, for sure.
In your previous answer, you had mentioned that you wanted to prove to yourself that you can, do this as far as the project. With this project, how does it fit into your larger creative journey? And where do you see yourself going next? I'm
a director, so I'm writing more, directing more. So next, really just developing projects. So I actually wrote the sequel to this. If we're going to shoot it, I don't know, but there is a sequel written. The cast is busy. That's the other thing. It's a great cast, and they're booked and busy. So finding a time for everybody to come back to do it again will be interesting. But and I don't want to and that's not saying it's open ending or anything like that, right? It's definitely a contained story. It doesn't need a sequel, but I wrote a continuation if it was needed. And other than that, I have other projects written. There's a series I want to develop. So, like I said, I think I caught the directing bug. Like I'm still a DP. I'm still a cameraman for sure. I've gotten calls to DP some other projects. So those are in the works. But the directing bug bit me hard. And it's something I definitely want to do for sure. So definitely you're going to see some more projects from me very shortly, actually, for sure.
All right, Terrance, that wraps up our cinematic cuts part 2. Go ahead and let the people know. I know you said you gave the streaming networks, but where can we find the
Yeah.
film? Your
So
social media platforms.
yeah, so you can follow the film on Instagram at A Season for Love Film, and on Facebook, its Facebook page is The Season for Love. For me, I'm available at Terry_Altair. That's where I'm mostly on Instagram, not really Facebook that much. And that's really it. I try to stay connected as much as I can. And my production company is Altair Vision, and that's all one word on Instagram. And then I'm a member of Genesis Creative Entertainment Group out of Charlotte. We're a collective of filmmakers that are just doing big things. So follow any of those. They're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. So follow any of those platforms, and touch base with me. I'm easy. You can DM me. I'm not one of those guys that's going to see you and leave you on red. No, I love to engage in the community. So, if you got a question about filmmaking or anything like that, feel free to send me a message, or just, if you love the film, please reach out to me. Let me know what you thought about it. For sure.
You guys, and make sure you get your pre-orders. I had the opportunity to see the movie twice. No, 3 times. No, 3 times. Yeah, 3 times. So make sure you get those pre-orders. All the links, I will make sure those are in the video. Make sure you comment, like, share, turn on the notifications when this episode drop. Terrance, thank you again, bro. Until next time, nostalgia on the mic.
Thank you. I appreciate you.